And you go into a room thinking, when somebody hires you to do something, you think, okay, they expect me to be the expert. And the first thing you're thinking about is, what if they know more than me? And I look like an
Yes.
idiot. Like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's so many fears.
Yeah, there definitely are. I'm grateful that I've done some good communication trainings too, that now I know that if someone does know more than me, there's a way you can kind of not, and I embrace it. I'm the type of person that you
Yeah.
know more than me. Great. Let me learn.
Tell me all about
Tell me
it.
all
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Tell
And
me more.
that
It's
I
one of my
think
favorite
that
questions.
right there is a great way to spin it as opposed to, oh my gosh, I didn't know that. It's like, oh, that's really interesting. Tell me more about that.
Yeah.
Like there's communication ways that you can shift it to not feel dumb in that moment.
Yeah.
Welcome to the HR Huddle podcast, presented by Sapient Insights Group, the ultimate resource for all things HR. It's time to get in the huddle.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Sapient Insights Group's HR Huddle. I'm your host, Teri Zipper, alongside my co-host, Susan Richards, and we're back with another episode of The Pivot Effect. This is the show where we talk about you as an employee, a leader, a mentor, a coach, what's possible and how to get there. If you're feeling stuck and you're following rather than leading, you want to lead, or you just feel like you've outgrown what you're doing and you want more, we got you. We focus on the skills and capabilities you need to thrive in the future of work, regardless of the work that you're doing, because there's always going to be a future. Sometimes we just have to make it. Our guest today is Amy Gerhartz. Amy is an accomplished singer-songwriter, speaker, and coach whose journey spans years in the music industry and a powerful evolution into leadership coaching. Today, we're going to explore what happens when passion, purpose, and personal growth collide. Ooh, this sounds exciting. And why sometimes the most important pivot isn't changing careers, but changing how we see ourselves. Welcome, Amy, to the Pivot Effect.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm
Yeah,
totally fangirling out right now. I'm totally fan.
It's been a while since anyone asked me to be on a podcast. I was like, absolutely. Yeah.
yeah. Well, you are one of our early guests on the Pivot Effect. This is a new show we just started a couple months ago, and we're really having fun doing it, and just excited about the things that we're talking about because it really is about the people, the passion, the decisions we're making along the way to just sort of figure out who we are and what we want to do. And it's not always linear, right?
Mm.
So
Yeah.
So, for those who don't know you, which I'm one of them, I looked at your website and I'm like Susan, totally fangirling. Tell us about music, Amy. Like and I'm assuming that's
Yeah.
kind of where you started was music, Amy, but maybe not. Maybe there's something before that. Tell us what that looked like.
Yeah, I feel like I was just telling someone the other day that I feel like I've lived a lot of lives within this life that I'm living right now. My music was the foundation, really, of everything that I do now. I have been a performer or been in performance in some aspect ever since I was a kid. So maybe around, I don't know, 7 or 8 was when I did my first musical theater, like community theater performance. And then I just fell in love with singing and acting. I don't do hardly any acting now, although who knows what'll happen in my 60s and 70s. But I went to school for music, went to Florida State University. Got a degree, started off as a vocal performance major, then switched to, not that this matters too much to the listeners, but I switched to a BA in music so I could do a little bit more expansive music education. And so I got a certificate in ethnomusicology, which is really the like anthropology of music, where the origins of music, how it started, how it developed. And then after school, where while I was in college, I knew that I didn't want to sing classical music, which was sort of the track in school of learning how to perform arias and opera, although I did very little in opera. And vocally, I could probably still do some of it, but not nowhere close now. But I realized that wasn't my passion. I had started songwriting. I wanted to write music. I wanted to travel and perform more popular secular music. And so picked up a guitar. I bought a guitar when I was 21 years old or 20 years old. And I started learning how to play guitar and then started putting my songs to music. And the rest is really history. Although there was a many, many years in between where I started playing cover shows in coffee shops and restaurants and bars. And I moved to New York for a little while. Well, moved to Virginia, worked for a commercial real estate, or sorry, Virginia, I worked for a production company. New York, I moved to and worked in a commercial real estate company. And then after that, I quit my job because I just was miserable working in an office from 7 a.m., 8 a.m. in Manhattan to, 5 every day. And so I decided to pursue music full time. And that was back in 2007. And so I moved to Atlanta. I played cover shows in Atlanta for about 8 years. And then I started playing a couple little local festivals, met some really amazing guys at a festival of a band you might know called Sister Hazel. And the Sister Hazel guys do this music festival every year called the Rock Boat. And I had gone on the Rock Boat as a passenger in 2008. And then fast forward to 2013, I was an official artist on that boat. It's really a music festival that happens on a cruise ship. Just like one on land, you've got 30 or so bands. And then from there, I was able to start touring independently with music. And I did that pretty much up until the pandemic. So music really has been the full foundation. I've done a lot of hobbies and side projects and things along the way. Had a short stint with Mary Kay. Had my own little business doing that. I became a director in that. And then when I was able to tour with music, I stopped that business and then started really just touring for many, many years. Was fortunate to do some vocal work for Lifetime and some commercial projects in Atlanta. And I was nominated for some awards, which was really cool too. And then from there, just, really built a fan base and was touring with music for a long time until I started my coaching business during the pandemic. That was a long answer to your question, but
I have one other question about that. What was your favorite cover to do?
Well, that's a tough question.
All right, we'll come back to that.
That depends on the day.
We'll let you think about that one.
I will say anything that a woman sings. I usually love doing that. So still to this day, probably Angel from Montgomery is a great song that Bonnie Raitt covered, written by John Prine. I still love doing Fleetwood Mac as well. It's just fun stuff to sing. And then of course, one of my all-time favorite bands was the Cranberries when I was growing up. And
yes.
So yeah, all of that really works well for me.
That we're liable to break out in song before we finish this podcast.
We could.
That's okay, Teri. We're going to sign you up for the Rock Boat next year. I think there's a few cabins available.
Well, so when did you first realize you wanted to do something different? Like, was it an event? Was it just sort of gradual? What happened?
Yeah, that's a great question. It was, in hindsight, I believe it was a gradual thing that started happening. So when I started touring originally with my music, it was in 2014. And for the listeners, I'm an independent artist. I don't have a manager. I don't have a booking agent. I do everything on my own. And when I tour, I usually will go into people's homes and perform what's called a house concert. So someone will set up, 30, 40, 50 chairs. They'll invite all their friends and family over, and I will perform a concert either in their backyard or in their home that's like a listening room event. So it's not really a party, but it's a concert with some socializing. And those are incredible. And I do play a couple smaller venues, but I'm the one driving all the miles. I'm the one managing my taxes. I'm the one, selling the merchandise and ordering it and designing it. I'm the one updating the website. And I think there was a time that probably towards 2018-ish, it was, let me do the math here, 14, 15, 16, 17. So about 5 years into touring, I started getting really burned out. I think, anything you do, even if you love it, even if it's a part of your soul, if you do it too much without having boundaries and breaks, which I know now because I'm a coach and I teach this to other people, but if you do anything for too long without taking care of yourself in the process, you will burn out. And I had a moment where I was in my car in 2018 and I just started feeling exhausted because the best part of my days as a touring musician is playing the shows and meeting people and having dinner with people and getting to know them and sharing stories. The hardest part of my days is the isolation of being in your car for 8, 9, 10 hours at a time, staying in a random hotel, just the road noise. Now, luckily, I'm a big fan of audiobooks, so that helps. But I just was getting to a place where I was like, man, do I do I really want to keep doing this? And how, if I do, how much longer am I going to keep doing this for? So I had started brainstorming a transition into something different or adding in something different right before the pandemic, pretty much. So 2019, I started playing around with maybe I want to go into real estate. Maybe I want to, start a different career. Also, I don't know if you've heard, musicians don't make a ton of money. So there was that moment of, I'm getting a little older and I should probably consider a retirement at some point. So it was probably a gradual thing that happened over the course of a year or two. And then the pandemic really solidified that transition when the entire music industry pretty much got wiped out.
Yeah, kind of slowly, and then all of a sudden.
And all of a sudden it was like, God's like, here's your sign. Here you go. If you're going to start something new, it's the time to do it now. So,
and Amy, what drew you to coaching and knowing that change is hard and it's scary and it's difficult? What made you like leave that life that you had led and jump with both feet into coaching?
That's a great question too. I have a song that I wrote back in 2017 or 2016 with two friends of mine, and it's called Loving Myself. And that song is about my own personal journey with self-doubt and insecurities, and really learning how to love who I am as an individual outside of all the things that I do, learning how to build a healthy relationship with myself. And so when I started playing shows and sharing that story and telling people about how the song was written and all of the ups and downs that I've been through in my own personal relationship with who I am, I started getting people coming up to me asking questions afterwards or saying, hey, thank you for sharing that. I've been through that too. How did you do that? And what did you hire a therapist? Did you did you have a coach? What did you do? And so I started almost coaching and mentoring before I knew what that actually was. And so there was this kind of pull to want to help people. And I think I've always intrinsically had that pull or inherently had it. But I think early on in my career, a lot of it was about me and can I win a Grammy and can I be famous and all of these things. And then as I got older, I'm like, oh, maybe this isn't really about me anymore. Maybe it's about connecting with other people and helping other people. And so during the pandemic, the government did something really amazing for people who were self-employed. There was the pandemic unemployment assistance, and which was the first time ever that anyone who was self-employed could apply for unemployment, which helped tremendously in order to have some sort of income coming in. And so I applied that income along with some additional funds I had saved to start getting coaching certifications and to start, leaning into these programs. I did a lot of different programs in neurolinguistic programming, hypnosis, hypnotherapy. I originally thought I was going to be a hypnotherapist and realized, oh my gosh, this is many long hours of working with people. And then I went through a lot of leadership trainings, and it just was something that, just like, the decision to pivot, the decision to build the career evolved as well. So it wasn't like I snapped my fingers and knew exactly what I was going to do or how I was going to do it. When I first started coaching, my brain thought, oh, I'll work with entertainers because I know what that's like to be an entertainer. But then I realized,
they don't have any money.
They have no money. All of us were completely broke during the pandemic. And I did some pro bono stuff. I did free coaching. I did a lot of stuff as I was getting experience. But and then that worked into, I still had women reaching out to me when they found out I was a coach, and a lot of men too, but the majority of my clients are women, and women who struggle with their confidence, women who struggle with speaking up. I have a lot of corporate women or female clients that have to lead teams and meetings, and there's still that imposter syndrome that creeps in from time to time. So I don't know if I answered your question.
You did. How did
I choose it? Yeah.
Yeah. And it brings up another question for me. I mean, my first experience with you was on the rock boat in 2020. That was my first rock boat, life-changing event. And what I loved about you was that you always had this just air of confidence and competence and joy when you were on stage. And I still see that when I get to see you on stage. Yet you talk about that imposter syndrome and being afraid. What kind of fears showed up for you as you were transitioning from like leaving the stage to joining a whole new stage in coaching?
That is another great question, honestly. I think a lot of the fears that came up at that time was the diving into the unknown. I had been doing music for so long. Like I still, I'm getting ready now for the listener, and I might have mentioned this. You, Susan, and Teri, you're learning. We're getting to know each other, and I'm excited about our friendship as well. But after I played the Rock Boat again this January, and now, within a month or two, I have 3 months worth of touring completely booked up. Music and doing running a music business, running an independent business was something I knew how to do. I developed those skills over 20 years. And so there was a big fear of, oh my gosh, I don't really know what I'm doing, or how to build a different type of business, or how to get clients, because I could sing a couple notes and get hired for something. I could send somebody one of my songs and get hired for something. Whereas a coach or a trainer or a speaker, a lot of that it's not just about, can you be on stage and perform, or can you help someone? It's, can you get results? And so that's not something you can really explain to someone, when you first start working with them. And so there was a lot of fear of, oh my gosh, what, like, and I've never had to do marketing before, really. I've never had to run a CRM. I've never had to build web pages and to create programs. So there was a lot of learning that came into that. And I did hire coaches as well. When I first started, I hired business coaches. I got together with other life coaches and leadership coaches, and learned as much as I could. I became a sponge. I know probably more about digital marketing now than I ever knew before. Not that you're only one person. You can't do it all by yourself.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
but there are things that I never really knew before when I was running my music business. So I think a lot of those were fears of, like, how do I do this? And how do I do it and not fall flat on my face? Or if I do fall flat on my face doing it, how can I do it in style?
How do I get back up? Yeah, yeah, you're totally
Absolutely.
right. There's,
Yeah.
and a lot of this stuff is not really that, it's not really that hard.
Yeah.
But you have to take some time, and you have to want to try to learn it, right?
Yeah.
You can hire somebody to do all of this stuff if you have the money. But at the same time, if you kind of know how to do it, you don't have to be the expert, but if you know how to do it, then you know what to expect, and you know what to hire for, and you know where to go next when it gets beyond what you can do yourself.
Absolutely. Well, and another fear, a big one just came up for me, and I think the listeners hopefully can relate to this too, and maybe the two of you as well.
Hi, I'm George LaRock, and I'm looking forward to exploring the critical trends shaping the future of work and technology with you over on the Work Tech podcast. Now, this podcast is a little different. I bring together industry leaders, innovators, and investors, and we go deep into market intelligence that matters to HR pros and tech providers alike. So give the Work Tech podcast a listen here on the Work Defined Podcast Network, and please subscribe if you like it. See you there.
I had a fear of not being taken seriously, because for a long time I had this messaging in my mind of, oh, you're just a musician, or oh, you're just a singer, or oh, you're just a songwriter, which that was part of my own personal development journey. I got to learn how to rewire some of the negative thoughts and behaviors that I had established within my music career. And there was a story I told myself for a long time that maybe this is all I'm good at. Right? Maybe music and singing and performing is all I'm really good at, and maybe I'm not going to be good at running a business, or maybe people aren't going to take me seriously because they'll see that I'm a musician, but then they'll think, well, wait a minute, well, how are you a leadership coach now too? And not understand that I've been through the trainings and I've been through the education.
Yeah.
And so for a while when I first started, and I think we're probably going to circle back around to this at some point, but I kept those two careers very, very separate when I first started. A lot of people, when I moved to Raleigh, where I'm at now, because I was in Nashville before, a lot of people in Nashville don't really know that I'm a coach, or didn't for a long time. A lot of people in Raleigh don't really know a lot about my music career, because most of my marketing was under my previous LLC, which I actually just decided not to renew. Because I'm blending my two businesses together now. But it was a lot of the imposter syndrome, right? Which I think we all experience, no matter what career field we're in or whatever we're doing. There's always I believe in myself, I think, but are other people going to believe in me too? There's
Yeah.
that question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you go into a room thinking when somebody hires you to do something, you think, okay, they expect me to be the expert. And the first thing you're thinking about is what if they know more than me and I look like an
Yes.
idiot? Like, my God.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's so many fears.
Yeah, there definitely are. I'm grateful that I've done some good communication trainings too, that now I know that if someone does know more than me, there's a way you can kind of not and I embrace it. I'm the type of person that you
Yeah.
know more than me, great. Let me learn.
Tell me all about
Tell me
it.
exactly.
Tell
And
me more.
that
It's
I
one of my
think
favorite
that
questions.
right there is a great way to spin it as opposed to, oh my gosh, I didn't know that. It's like, oh, that's really interesting. Tell me more about that.
Yeah.
Like there's communication ways that you can shift it to not feel dumb in that moment.
Yeah.
So talked about kind of letting go of the one LLC and blending and really it sounds like you're integrating the two parts of your life. How did that idea emerge, Amy?
That has happened or come along probably within the last 6 months. In fact, I haven't even really announced it yet to everyone, and I just said it on the
Well,
podcast.
what had happened was
I got ahead of myself.
That's some news.
Now that I'm starting to play music again, I took about 5 years off of music, and everyone asked me if I had quit music, and the reality is I don't think you can really quit something that's a part of you. You can stop doing things for a while. I told people they were like, "Oh, Amy's retired." I'm like, "I'm not retired. I'm in hibernation. I'm sleeping. I'm just doing a very long 5 year sleep." And I needed that. I needed the break from the constant need of I need to put out new music and new songs and tour and do all of these things. And then I started the coaching business. And like I said, I kept those two things separate. And then last year, I started dipping my toes back in the water again with music. And I realized it was so fun to get back out on the road and play and not have it have to be my only source of income. And I full transparency, I'm a single woman, no kids, never married. If the Lord does not bring me my future husband to help with my bills, I'm in charge of it all. So there is the thought of like, okay, this economy is getting pretty pricey and expensive. So it was really nice to be able to play music last year and to have it be sort of the bonus income and the extra. And then it got to be fun because there wasn't so much pressure related to it. And so, I had started. This is going to be, Susan, a really complicated answer to your question, or a complex answer to your question, because it wasn't just one thing that made me decide to sort of let go of a higher way of living. It's almost like a little bit of a rebrand. I'm not giving up my coaching business or my speaking business. I'm still doing that. I'm just learning how to integrate them into Amy Gerhartz as the umbrella, and having the umbrella be Amy as the musician, the coach, and the speaker. And letting it all sort of evolve also with my Rise Up Buttercup podcast and be a little bit more blended and organic. I will say that, I love training, and I'm good at training in the leadership space and the communication space, but I found that there was a big difference between the companies that would hire me in to do trainings for people that did not want to be there versus people like associations or organizations that would hire me in for the people that were paying for a ticket or a conference fee that really wanted to be there and wanted to learn. And there was a lot of self-discovery, which happens in any field for any person in any time of life, of, do I really enjoy doing this? And some of the forced trainings were great, and 90% of the time the people were amazing. That 10% of the time though, I was kind of like, oh man, am I even making a difference? Am I really doing what I feel like I'm called to be doing while also making money? So there was just a lot of that. And then, I am in the thick of my perimenopausal journey, and I'm in the thick of my midlife epiphany. And we're not calling it a crisis, according to my bass player. We're
No.
calling it an epiphany.
I
And
like that. I like that
yeah,
reframe.
I do.
Yeah.
Too. And so I had a lot of things just kind of come together, and a higher way of living. The idea behind that company was really to help people to understand that there's a better way that they can be living every day. There's a almost like pulling you up, like rising up out of the BS that we tell ourselves and all the stuff that we talked about earlier, to just, we can do things better, right? There's got to be a easier, more fulfilling way of doing this. But there was this kind of understanding of, okay, well, my website's really corporate. The stuff that I'm doing is really corporate. Maybe I can explore what it would look like to transition that. And I've started doing this last year, transition into doing women's associations and women's groups. And I still work with men too. I just want to make that very clear with everybody listening. But what would that look like to, get back to the roots of the stuff that I really love to do to begin with? And so I'll be honest, saying it here, I have no idea how it's going to evolve. Who knows? I think that's kind of the freedom and excitement of this whole transition. But I am right in the thick of, starting a brand new adventure of going back on the road with music. I actually have a call after this today about doing a speaking event while I'm in Denver, Colorado, and adding more speaking events in while I'm on the road. I've got a couple new clients starting up with coaching. So I think it gets to be a really fun transition, and it gets to be whatever it's going to be without the pressure of it needing to look a certain way.
That sounds really powerful, Amy.
Thank you.
And
Terrifying,
super
but also
and super
Yeah.
exciting. I'm like, where do I sign up for this? I want that kind of life.
Come on in. Yeah.
Step one.
Fun. Yeah.
And as you were talking, there's this thing that I have about being authentic in everything I do, and there has to be a little fun in what I'm doing, or I just opt out. I'm like, I'm not doing that anymore. I don't want to.
Yeah.
And I think that's a gift that we get as we get a little more advanced and a little more wisdom in our life. So I loved hearing that story. So just a couple of like lightning round things. And don't forget, we're going to come back to Teri's question. What's something that you're better at today because of the pivots that you've made?
Patience. When I was younger, I wanted everything to happen so fast. And even when I started my coaching business, well, let's go back to music. When I was in music, and I guess I still am in music, I've got to work on my language. But when I first started my music career, it was like, oh my gosh, I want to win a Grammy, and I want to have a label, and I want to be a famous songwriter. And if I don't have it figured out by the time I'm 30, then, it was just all of this pressure. And I've learned, and even when I have ADHD, so if you haven't figured that out yet, so my brain skips a little faster than my mouth. So even with my coaching business, it was like, okay, I'm going to build this business. I'm going to bring on hundreds of clients. Not that I have the time to coach hundreds of clients, but I was going to, I want to make millions of dollars.
It sounded good, didn't it?
It sounds great. And then you get into the work of it and you're like, I don't know if I want to do that work. I
That's
don't know.
Exhausting.
I'm self-employed for a reason. I'm not trying to work an 80-hour week here. And so there was a lot of, but there was this need to have it happen very quickly. Need to have the first course I ever create be the big course, right? Or the first keynote that I ever do is going to be the one that everyone's going to want to hire. The stuff that I did at the beginning of everything, at beginning of music, the songs I wrote at the beginning of music are nowhere close to the level of songs that I write now. The programs that I created when I first became a coach are what they are. They're not as good as what I would create now with the experience. So I've gotten to learn how to be more patient and to learn how to tell myself that sometimes if it happened too quickly, would I really appreciate it? And would I be as good at it as I am now? And would I enjoy it as much as I do now because of the time that it took to get there?
Yeah. I think that's so important though. Like you have to have the goals, right? You have to have goals because that directs the activity and the things that we do to get us there. But at the same time, we can't have everything tomorrow. And that has sort of been our culture for a while now in
Yes.
At least in America. It's like, I got to do this and I got to do it tomorrow. There's just no waiting. I can't wait.
Yeah. I'm in a season right now of learning how to slow down. And I don't know if everyone goes through this at some point in their life, but I do agree with you, Teri. We are in a season of instant gratification, or in a culture of instant gratification. I mean, with dating, with things we can buy online, with with social media, it is like, what's next? What's next? What's next? And we get all these little dopamine hits. But those dopamine hits, I don't think, although I'm not going to say there's anything wrong with Amazon. I love it. Like getting my package tomorrow. I don't want to wait for it. But I also think that causes me not to just take the time and not to just slow down. And so I'm in a season of stripping away all of the excess and learning how to just take things day by day and learning to live a little bit more in the moment and letting life and letting God like just kind of figure it all out, and like Jesus, take the wheel. At this point, I'm too damn tired. You let me know. I'm going to follow the calling of singing. I'm going to follow the calling of helping people. I'm going to follow my calling of speaking. But after that, I just don't think I need to have it all figured out anymore. And that's really exciting.
Great advice.
Love that.
Thank you.
Love that. So what's next, Amy?
Well, I did a post a couple days ago on my Facebook profile that I am moving out of my apartment. I made the decision because I'm going to be traveling so much to let go of my apartment. This will be the first time that I don't have a quote unquote home. I'm not homeless. I'm just without a home. I have plenty of people and family like that I can stay with. But I'm going to be traveling so much that, going back to what we said before, I'm in a season of wanting to be a little bit smarter financially and a little smarter of where do I want to end up and what type of lifestyle do I want to have in the next 20 years or 25 years before I retire myself. Although I don't know if you ever retire if music is what you do, but I just decided that I'm going to explore what it's like to be a bit of a nomad. So I might hate it. Prefacing this, I'm taking it at 6-month increments. I might hate it. Check with me in 6 months and we'll do this again. But I have to be out of my apartment in 2 days. I don't know when you're going to air this podcast, but I'm sure I'll be moved out by then. And I, from there, am going cross country again, touring with music. I have shows already scheduled this summer for Missouri, Colorado, Montana, Minnesota, South Dakota, Michigan, Illinois, Tennessee, and then I'm flying to Europe for a month to play 2 shows in Spain. I have 7 shows in Germany. I might take like 2 or 3 days to go to Ireland because we know some folks over in Ireland and go visit there. And then I fly back home and I'm continuing to add shows and speaking events. And like I said, just allowing myself to be a little bit more open and free to what the journey can really look like, as opposed to trying to fit it into a box. I've sold almost all of my stuff. So it's all stuff. It can all be replaced. The important stuff's packed up, right? But the couch, the bed, like the furniture, it's pretty much all gone. And I'm just excited for the adventure. And I'm excited to see what it feels like to not have as many attachments. Once again, might completely hate it. I might need my own space again for my. Yeah.
That sounds like the ultimate pivot, Amy.
It is. It's a big one. I will say this. I just did a podcast episode about this transition last week or the week before. I can't remember where it is, but you can listen to it on Rise Up Buttercup podcast. But I talked about how I would not recommend this for everyone. Like I planned this out. This is not like a willy-nilly, like I'm just going to give up my stuff and go. I made sure that I knew I was going to make enough money on the road, that I knew that, I had places to stay. I, balanced out my expenses and income. And it's not like I'm not burning the house down, even though it sounds kind of like it. I planned it out. And like I said, at the end of the day, furniture is just furniture. An apartment is just an apartment. I also know that with this transition, I have an amazing support system with my music fans, with my family, with my friends, that even though it feels a little unstable, it's actually incredibly stable because of the fact that I will never be homeless, and so it's going to be an adventure. And I'm keep reminding myself of that on the days I wake up thinking, oh my God, what am I doing? So
if you get to Louisville, let me know.
Yes. Yeah.
And if you need a place to camp out in Pensacola, I welcome to come and hang out here.
So you ladies hopefully are going to love this. My stepdad used to do a lot of camping. He would do motorcycle trips and he hiked the Appalachian Trail and he has all of this camping stuff. Now, I am not a camper. Like I'm not. I'm a put me in a nice place. But I do have, because I do want to try new things on this road trip as well. I want to try new foods. I want to try new cultures although most of it's US, but you know what I mean. I want to try new things, and one of those things is going to be at least one night in a campground. Now, I'm not going out in the woods in the middle of nowhere. There's got to be a bathroom and there's got to be like a place I can shower. But I have a tent and I have like some camping equipment, and I think I'm going to video it because of just the comic relief that hopefully it'll bring to some people of me trying to set up a tent, having no idea what I'm doing.
Oh yeah, we're gonna need to see it.
But yeah, it's definitely gonna be an adventure.
Wow. Amy, thank you so much for joining
you.
us today. This is the kind of conversation that genuinely changes a person's mindset. Where can listeners connect with you this summer?
I would say go over to amygerhartz.com. So it's just my full name.com. Eventually, there is a link right there or from that current website to my coaching website. Eventually, they'll be blended together into one website. But you can see my travel schedule, my tour schedule, my speaking schedule. I would also say that I'm adding in speaking events too. So if any listener says, oh my gosh, you're going to be in Montana or you're going to be in Chicago, I'd love to have you come and do a speaking event. I would love to add those in, or a music event too. But I want to be able to make sure I have some time to give back while I'm on the road as well. So amygerhartz.com is the best place. All of my music and the podcast is up on Spotify. You can go to YouTube. I have some coaching videos on YouTube, but I will also say that my YouTube content is lacking.
I think we all struggle with that.
I'm one person. I can only do so much.
Yep.
But yeah, you can follow all my stuff on my website.
Wonderful. Well, it's been great to have you. We want to say thank you to our producers, the Brand Method Media Group, and our marketing team. And thank you for tuning in with us today. If today's episode gave you something to think about, do us a favor, follow the Pivot Effect under the HR Huddle umbrella, wherever you listen, and share this with one of your friends who is thinking about doing something different. We'll see you next month for another conversation about the pivots that matter. In the meantime, the HR Systems Survey for 26-27 is out and ready for your participation. Go to sapientinsights.com and click the link, and you can share data about your HR tech data stack. Goodness. Be sure to listen to our other shows under the huddle. Stacy and Cliff do Spilling the Tea on HR tech, and Cliff has taken over HR We Have a Problem, and you know that stuff is always spicy.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye, y'all. This was so fun. Thanks.